It's funny, my daughter was a gymnast, and whenever we would do travel events, I was always the one that was in charge of finding the restaurants that we would go to, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to research them all on Yelp, and I'll know like all the great places to go eat. And then my daughter quit traveling, and the first text that I got was, we're going somewhere, who's going to plan where we're going to eat? I'm like, sorry, not going to do it this time. Anyways, I have always wanted to be part of a young moms group. 27 years it took me to finally get into a young moms group, and here I am. And my kids are, 19 and going on 20 and 16. But this is something that I've always wanted to come to. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to because I have always worked full-time. Not always worked full-time, but right out of high school, I had a great employer that hired me that allowed me to work full-time, but at the same time, I was able to have my kids come to work with me. So even though I didn't have this young moms group that I could come to, I still had the blessing of having my kids with me. So I graduated from high school in 1989. I'm giving you my age now. And I was in Oklahoma, moved to California, and I started college. And my mom said, hey, why don't you get a part-time job? And I was like, okay. She goes, there's, in the Penny Saver, there's an ad for a nighttime receptionist. I don't even know if they still have the Penny Saver anymore. But we were on the way to the beach, and I said, okay, I'm going to put on a dress over my bathing suit. I'll go in, I'll interview for this job. Went in, interviewed for the job, and I got it. And so I started working as a part-time receptionist at a local car dealership here in Orange County. And little would I have known that I would be with this same employer for 33 years. My one and only job that I've ever had, I'm still working for the family. So I did various things within his different dealerships that he had. But in 1999, he sold all of his stores. And when he sold his stores, he asked if I would leave with him in his semi-retirement. And he bought a building here in Aliso Viejo, moved there. At this time, I was married, did not have any children yet. But his wife, being the amazing woman that she was, she designed my office so that my kids could come to work with me. I had a room that I had a pack and play in, that my kids would nap in. They put this little Dutch door in there so that I could shut the bottom so the kids wouldn't run around the office. They were family. One of his granddaughters was a flower girl in our wedding. And so finally we had children, and they got to grow up there. And, they are my kids' family as well. My boss would even have this jelly bean jar on his desk, and Mrs. Webb would, fill it with jelly beans all the time. And the kids, when they took him mail during the day, he would give them one jelly bean. So they kind of got smart, and they knew, okay, I'm going to take one envelope at a time. And they would run down to his office so that they could get a jelly bean. So anyways, amazing family that I was able to work for. Unfortunately, about 4 years ago, my boss got ill. He had Alzheimer's, and he passed away. Devastating to me, but I continued working for the family. I managed their estate, pay their bills, various properties that they have, and still work for his kids, grown kids, and his wife. And then about a year and a half ago, his kids were all out of town. I get a call from the housekeeper, and she says, you need to come over here. Something is wrong. And so I rushed to the house, and the thing is every Tuesday, once a month, she would have a luncheon where she would invite women to her home. She would have a luncheon and have tea, and they would come up with ideas of things that they could do for the community, and they would encourage one another. And so she had this event at her house. And so I walk in, and the women are starting to arrive, and I walk up to her in the chair, and she can't talk. Words are not coming out of her mouth. It's ba 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 ba. So I'm holding her hands, trying to understand what it is she's trying to tell me. And I can't understand anything she's saying. So I call 911, we go to the hospital, and sure enough, she had had a stroke. So this began testing, trying to figure out what we could do. Physically, she's fine. She can walk around, she's got a great heart, she's good. But she lost her ability to communicate 100%. Not only can she not speak, but she can't write. Now, this is a woman that was the woman behind this successful man that encouraged him, encouraged her kids. She wrote letters every day. I would get piles of letters that I was to mail off every day of people that she would write to. She had this chair that she would sit in, and for hours she would make phone calls to talk to people, and now she can't talk. It's been an interesting year and a half for me. really pondering how important our words are. And the thing is when I got a call to ask to teach to NAVMO, I've never taught NAVMO before, but when I was asked to teach and she told me that it was going to be on our words, I was like, wow, she has no idea what I've been going through with how important it is to me to really think through how important it is that we have this ability to communicate and talk to others. So I have some things I just want to share with you guys today, things that I've gone through, a new perspective that I have on life about how to communicate to others and the power of our words. And the thing is it's nothing new, because the Bible tells us that our tongue and the ability to speak and the power of our words is something not to be taken lightly. So number one on your outline, I just want to start with realize that what you say matters. Realize what you say matters. Proverbs 18:21 says that death and life are in the power of the tongue. That's a lot. You've got a big responsibility to think that with this slimy little weird thing that you have in your mouth, the smallest muscle in your body, right? It has the power to either give life or death to others. Life to your kids, death to your kids. To your husband, to your friends, to your family. That's a big responsibility. Psalm 141:3 says, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. And that's something that we need to think about every day is, Lord, keep a guard over my mouth and watch my lips with what I'm going to say. My husband is a biologist, and so he's out in the field a lot. He's been doing that, the big oil spill that they had. So his office work is he's at the beach every day. Every morning he's there when the sun comes up and he's kind of monitoring things and these cute little birds and stuff. But part of that, when he's out there, he has all this time on his hands. So he loves podcasts. And there's a podcast by Dennis Prager that he likes to listen to, and it's called The Happiness Hour. And one of the things that Dennis Prager said is that our words, when we use words that are harsh, that are mean, that aren't nice, he said it's almost like talking to someone with bad breath. You're just like, you don't want to be around someone like that. You don't want to be around someone that has a foul mouth, but also when it's someone that's like a nag or has just negative things to say. Do you have anyone like that in your life that you just don't want to be around them? They're not a joy to be around. It's like someone with bad breath, right? And none of us want to have bad breath. Which is funny because it talks so much about the tongue, and then you think about the tongue, and you think about brushing your teeth. And so it's something that we have in our family that we've talked about a lot. When the kids say something that we don't like, that's negative, or Phil will say, you've got bad breath. And so something that we implemented with our family is just to be as a reminder, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you do, right, is brush your teeth. Hopefully you all brush your teeth in the morning, right? And you have to really brush your tongue if you want to get the bad breath smell out. So something that we really try to do every morning when we're brushing our teeth is just a reminder that check your words. Think about the words that you're going to speak during that day and just be mindful of them, because it is something that we need to be consciously making a daily decision on how we are going to choose to speak during the day. But also, at the end of the night, it's nice to reflect back on how you did in the day. And so at night, go back and think, when you're brushing your teeth again, be thinking about, how did I do? How did I do with my words today? Which is a perfect opportunity that if there was something that you said to someone that wasn't nice, talking behind someone's back, or if you lashed out, to a family member, to your kids, to your husband, it's an opportunity for you to ask for forgiveness. Reach out and make things right. Because we all mess up, and we know that. We blow it big time, and damage is done, and there might be some of you here today that a relationship has been completely destroyed because of words. If it's one word, if it's numerous words that have been spoken. And the thing is, you can't take them back. Once they come out, it's like the toothpaste thing. You squeeze it and the toothpaste comes out. You can't stick the toothpaste back in the toothpaste jar. And so some of us have damaged relationships that can't be repaired and reconciled due to words that have been spoken. If they're your words to you or if it's someone's words back. And we have the same issue with God. Our sin against a perfect, holy God has caused a big problem, and it's caused a division in our relationship with him. But thankfully, the Bible tells us in 1 John 4:8 that God is loving. And because of his love for sinful people like us, he has fixed that through Jesus. But the thing is, we have to respond to what Jesus did. For us to have a reconciled relationship to God, we have to respond to what Christ did for us on the cross. And sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is to respond to someone that has hurt you. Reach out to someone that's hurt you. Or if you've hurt someone else, give that forgiveness as well. Reach out to that person. And the thing is, most of us could probably pass the microphone around, or you could talk within your groups, and you could think about moments in your life that you've been destroyed. You've been hurt by people that have said things to you. I know when I quickly think about hurtful things, I think of people that have hurt my kids. As a mom, it's one thing if someone hurts you, but someone hurts your kid, that mama bear, heart rate goes up. And I'll never forget a time my son was playing football, and I heard something that the coach said about my son, and I was like, oh no, he did not just do that. You just get this mama bear anger, which is funny because now that coach's son is my son's roommate at college. Love how God works in that. But on the other hand, the encouraging words, right? Like when someone has said something to you that has changed your life, that goes a long way. And those are the kind of things that we want to breathe into other people, are those encouraging words that we can give life to other people. My son is at the Air Force Academy. The Air Force Academy, it's in Colorado Springs, and it is a college. So he has academic classes, but as well as academic, because it's a military college, he has military duties. And this last June, we had to take him for a 6 weeks basic training. We pull up to the school, we say our goodbyes, he gets out of the car, and he walks up the stairs, and we don't get to talk to him for 6 weeks. The first thing that they do is they take his phone away. And they say the only way that you can communicate with your child for 6 weeks is by writing letters. So I wrote him every single day. We had loved ones that wrote him every single day. And the first letter that I got from him wasn't good. He wasn't happy, he was hurt, he was sad. He missed home, he missed his girlfriend. He didn't know how he was gonna get through 6 weeks there, much less the next 4 years of his life being there. And it was hard. It was hard to read those words in his letter. So the letter writing started. And so he got to come home Thanksgiving, first time in 5 months. He was home with us a couple weeks ago. And we were talking about me coming up here and talking. And he said, you know what, Mom? He goes, I have an envelope on my desk, and I put specific letters in there of encouragement that I had from people. And he said, I often go back into those envelopes and I pull them out when I'm having a bad day and I read them. He goes, I reread them over and over and over again. Those are the kind of things that you're like, this was life that was breathed into him. This is what got him through those 6 weeks. And the thing is, it's not just our encouraging words that we're going to use for other people's benefits, but we're all moms, and the way that you're going to talk and the way that you're going to talk to your husband, your parents, your kids, your friends, your kids are watching you. And they're going to duplicate exactly what you're doing. So if we want to be a good example as moms, we want our kids, right, to communicate in a loving way. There's a country song where there's this little boy, and he's in the car, and he's got his Happy Meal in his lap, and an orange soda. I don't know if anyone in here is country people, you know that song I'm talking about. And so the dad slams on the brakes, and the Happy Meal box goes everywhere, and the drink goes everywhere, and the little boy blurts out a 4-letter word. And the dad's like, son, where'd you learn to talk like that? And he says, hey, I've been watching you, Dad. Ain't that cool? I'm your buckaroo. I want to be just like you. And I was like, oh, isn't that true, right? You're like, what? You say that. Where did you learn to talk like that? Well, where did you learn to talk like that? We have little ones that are watching us, and so we just have to be very mindful of the way that we speak. But the thing is we blow it, right? None of us can say that there's been a time that we have not blown it, and we've raised our voices, we've yelled, we've said things that we wish we could take back, and it's going to happen. But the thing is, when that happens, we need to stop and we need to think. We need to ponder what we're going to say. And that's point number 2 on your outline, is choose your words wisely. When your emotions get heavy, if it's because you're exhausted, because you've been around kids all day long, you're just tired, someone says something to you that you feel it inside and you're ready just to lash out, we need to stop and we need to think. Proverbs 15:28 says, the heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. So we're going to go through on your outline. I have the word think down. So I have something that I want us to think about before we respond when something like this happens. When there's conflict that's about to happen, these are the things that you're going to think about before you respond. So the first one is the T is true. Is what you are about to say true? You know, an untrue statement or even stretching the truth, if you're about to say something like that, don't say it at all. And the thing is a lot of times we get hurt by something that's happened or we're frustrated. And as women, we tend to pick up the phone and call someone. Or you're at the park and you want to like badmouth whoever it is that just hurt you, right? And we can exaggerate the truth or just say things that just aren't true because we want sympathy. We want sympathy from the person that we're talking to. If it's an untrue statement, don't say it. Because the thing is what I have found is usually when I vent about something that's happened to someone, to my mom or to a friend, I kind of get over it pretty quickly, but then that person has this negative attitude about the person that I was just talking about. They don't forget it, even though you do. So just be careful. You have to ask yourself, is it true? The next thing under H, under think, is what I'm about to say, is it going to be helpful or is it going to be hurtful? Will this purposely hurt them or is it going to help them? Proverbs 12:18 says, there is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. So again, it's like you have this tool, right? So what you're about to say, is it going to purposely hurt someone that you're talking to, or is it going to be helpful? There are hurtful things that we need to say, you know? If something has happened and you need to address the situation, but your body language and the way you say it means everything. And I'm learning this right now with our daughter. She just got her permit. I know you guys have young moms, you're not there yet. You get in a car with a kid that's never driven before, it is scary, okay? And so the funny thing is she had her first training, and the driver that gave the training gave this form and said, this is mom and dad's homework. And on it, he circled this thing that says, no yelling at the driver. I was like, ah. So she went out with my husband, and she storms in crying, and she's like, Mom, you're driving me from now on. I can't do this with Dad. I can't do it. And so he's like, she just at the stop sign, she wouldn't turn. And we were arguing over, you know, and she's like, yeah, but you were yelling, and you failed. You failed, Dad. And so I'm like, okay. So now every day I'm like, okay, we're going to go driving. So I'm like, is this what I'm going to say? Is it hurtful or helpful? Hurtful or helpful? And I just, you know, it's like this lesson just keeps going, you know, I'm getting tried. So we did this loop, no lie, 6 times, just so she could get this stop sign. And I'm like, okay, you know, encouraging words. You're not doing very well, but I'm not going to yell at you. So I'm going to say, that was great. You slowed down better this time. Let's do it again. And we laugh at something like that, but you think about it. There's things that frustrate you, but think about how can you address this situation without just being like, that was a stupid turn, right? You just address it in like a soft, an easy way so that your words aren't hurtful, but helpful. I spoke to a counselor, a marriage counselor, and talking about being encouraging. And he said that most married couples that come into his office, do you want to know what the main thing that men say that they want from their wives? It's not sex, which is what you would think that it was. And it's not that they want their house to be clean and they want to have this amazing dinner on the table. But most men he said, ends up crying because they don't feel like their wives are giving them encouraging words for things that they've done. I was like, really? I mean, we like to be encouraged because we're women. We want to hear everything that we did. The house looks great. The kids are wonderful and all of that. But really, my husband really wants me to encourage him. And I asked my husband. He said, absolutely. Ask your husbands. Encourage them. See the response that you get from them. Okay, so now we're going to go to I. I is intentional. Every single day, multiple times a day, we get hurt, frustrated, angry because of something that someone did, and we take it personal. My husband says it often, don't take this personal. We have to ask ourselves, are they intentionally trying to hurt me with what they're about to say? Before you lash out at someone because they forgot your birthday, someone didn't show up to a baseball game, or your husband comes home late and you're wanting to lash out at them with words because of something they did, you have to ask, are they intentionally trying to hurt me? And do they love me? And if they do, and it's not intentionally hurting you because of it, then just zip it, hold it back. Sometimes we just have to overlook an offense. Okay, and think. Now we're on the N. Is it necessary? Is it really necessary what's about to come out of your mouth? We speak 22,000 words a day. That's a lot of words. There's a lot of words that come out of our mouth that aren't necessary, that we don't need to say. There's a saying that says, remember, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen twice as much as you speak. We would get in a lot less trouble if sometimes we just didn't respond. Proverbs 17:27 says, whoever restrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. So we just zip it, right? And sometimes that means, for me, I have to go into the other room, count to 10, maybe say I need to go for a walk. Just take time before you respond to just ask yourself, is it even necessary that I even go down this road? And most of the time, when you take that time and you're not just reacting off the emotion and blurting it out of your mouth, when you take the time to step back, then you realize it really wasn't that important after all. I can't tell you how many times my husband and I have had conversations at night, and in the morning we wake up and we go, that was not necessary. So a lot of times, just zip it. The last one on it is what you're about to say kind. Proverbs 15:1 says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. What you are about to say, is it kind? Marriages can be difficult. Friendships can be difficult. Dealing with your children can be difficult. Something that Phil does that is helpful for me, because I do have that personality that I can, get, upset. And when he recognizes that we're going down a road that he knows that the conversation isn't going to really go anywhere because I'm not in the right state of mind, he'll grab my hand and he'll say, before we go any farther, I want you to know how much I love you. And you know what that does? When you're in the middle of getting all worked up, it just calms you down, right? You may not have a husband that acts like that, but can you act like that? You might not have kids that are like that, but you can act like that. I mean, this is something that we can do to try to help the situation, and it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. But a lot of times when you bring it back to the basics of why are we here, and you just say, I love you. If it's with a friendship, we've got a hard conversation that we have to have, but give that encouraging thing about how much you love them before you start that conversation. It just brings the emotions down to a level where you can actually have a productive conversation. So again, you need to ask, is what I'm about to say kind? Am I being kind? So again, you need to ask, am I being 100% truthful with the words I'm going to use? Will they help or will they hurt the person? Am I just being sensitive and reacting to words that were not intentional? N, is it necessary that I even go down this road? And K, am I reacting with kindness? So this is all the yucky stuff that I just went through. That's hard, right? But it's important. It's important for us to use and think through, ponder through the way that you're going to communicate to those that you love. The last point that I want to go into is talking about how good it feels to be encouraged, right? We're coming into the Christmas season where you're thinking about gifts that you want to give to those that you love. And the best gift that you can give is words of encouragement to others. Speaking life, choosing to speak life into those that you love, into your kids, into your family, into your husband, into whoever it is that's in your life, to a neighbor. Encouraging words lift us up when we're feeling discouraged, and they keep us going when we want to give up and when we're tired. So we have a choice. Are you going to use life words or death words this Christmas season? So our third and final point is intentionally use your words for good. This is something that you need to wake up and say, I am going to intentionally use my words for good today, this week. When we take the time to invest in deep, meaningful conversation, we build intimacy, trust, and comfort in our relationships. When we encourage one another with our words, we become a great resource of joy and strength to those around us. So I have 7 practical ways that we can do that this week, this year, for the rest of your life, however it goes. So this is just 7 practical ways of how we can encourage. The first one is I have this jar. This is a great gift idea that you guys could do since Christmas is coming up. My son got this. It's called the Positivity Jar for Cameron. And this was something that they did in one of his classes in high school, which is funny because this jar still sits on his nightstand. So that tells you how much it meant to him. And so there's all these little pieces of paper in this jar. And everyone in the class wrote something on it to him about what they love about him. And then he got to go home and read them all. So just an idea, maybe this is something through the month of December. You have paper out at home. You could do it with, friends, family, neighbors, however. But, if it's something that you want to do within your home, each night, you guys all have your kids, your husband, write down something that you appreciate about him. Even if you really didn't appreciate much about him that day, I'm sure you can find one thing that you appreciated about him. And then at Christmas time, you put a little bow on it, and then everyone gets to undo and read all the things that they did for the month of December. So that's one practical way. The next one is Post-it notes. This one was fun in our house when the kids were little. Get a Post-it note and write an encouraging word or just I love you and stick it someplace in the house that they'll find it. My kids got creative, found them in my underwear drawer, found them, in my car, but it was fun knowing I had to go search for my Post-it note that day to see what the kids were going to say about me. And you can do the same thing. I wrote a little note to Hannah one day and stuck it somewhere. And this was like 2.5 years ago, and she still has this note. She put it in this little frame, and she has it stuck on the side of her bed. Just a small little encouraging note that I wrote to her one day. So small little words go a long way. The next one is mess up a mirror. Get some lipstick. If your husband has like an important review or your kids have a recital, write on the mirror in the bathroom, you've got this today, have fun. Just something just to kind of surprise them when they're going to walk into a room. The next one is type out a text. This one is so easy. I'm sure we all text every single day, right? And a lot of times our texts are, what time are you going to be home? What do you want for dinner? What's going on? But how about just something random of encouragement, right? We can all do that. Think of someone that you can randomly text, something that's encouraging them to them, and send a text. In your discussion groups today, I'd love for each one of you find one person to randomly encourage and say something nice to. And you'd be amazed at what would come back. Last night, I was leaving, and my neighbor did different Christmas lights, and it looked absolutely beautiful. And so I just texted my neighbor, I'm like, your house looks awesome. And they wrote back, wow, that was so encouraging, thank you. And I'm like, something so simple like that. Type a text. We started doing this recently. We have a family group chat with my husband and his family, and not that we didn't talk a lot before, but we really didn't. It was, you'd call on birthdays and things like that. They live out in Lake Las Vegas. Phil's sister lives here, we're here, but we got on this group chat. And now every morning when my husband goes down to Huntington Beach to do his morning dredge check, he takes a selfie and says encouraging words to the family of how much he loves them. And his parents went out of town for a few days and they didn't have any cell coverage. And the first thing that they said when they got back and their phones clicked on was how much they missed the morning messages of encouragement from him. Things that you don't even think about. The next one is pack a lunch with love. This one's fun for little kids, right? You got little kids, pack a lunch, put a heart on their napkin. Or, on the banana, you can write, something cute on the banana. Again, my husband, when we first got married, he used to pack my lunch, which was a super sweet thing. And this one time he wrote on the napkin, open up your sandwich. And so I opened up the sandwich and he had spelled out, I love you with cheese. Yeah. And then on the other, I'm like, I turned it over on the other side and it was all the leftover pieces. I'm like, that's cheesy. But it was sweet, right? I mean, get creative, do something fun with the lunches. The next one is write a letter. We don't write letters much anymore, which I think this is something great to teach your kids at a young age, is like when they have birthday parties, to write encouraging letters to people, thanking them for what they got. But for us, just write a letter to someone that you haven't written in a long time. Like my boss's wife. I mean, she had me go and buy once a month. I would go to Hallmark and I would just buy a whole bunch of cards. And she would have them at the house and she would randomly send cards to people. On Amazon, they've got a box that you can get, a box of cards at Amazon. They're really cheap and it comes in this cute little thing, and just randomly pick out a card to send randomly to someone. You know how fun it is to get a card in the mail? We don't get that anymore, right? Another thing you could do is, if you want to write out like a little letter, put it on your kid's pillow with like a little piece of chocolate, like you're at a fancy like 5-star hotel, So yeah, write a letter. The last one is post on social media. I'm sure not everyone, but most people have social media, and post something special on social media about someone. So pick someone and say 12 things that I love about you. If it's that they make great banana bread, or you love their barbecue chicken, or whatever, post it so that everybody can see it, and encouraging this person of what they do and what they mean to you in your life. So those are just some practical ideas of some things that I have for you ladies to try and do. I'm so thankful to be here and to be a part of this NAVMO group. I hope you guys know like how fortunate you are to have one another, to have moms to come and sit next to and encourage and love on one another and spur one another on. Like I said, I have had the best of both worlds. My boss did end up giving me Wednesday mornings off so that I could do women's Bible study, which has been fantastic. So I've had like a little bit of both. I've been around the working mom world, and I know what the working mom world goes through. But now in women's Bible study, I'm surrounded by other moms too. So I see both sides of it. And we are so blessed just to have the sisterhood, to be able to be together and to encourage one another. And so I just want to thank you for allowing me to come up here. I'm praying for your discussion group times, that you guys can spur one another on and hold each other accountable in this next busy season of Christmas. And Merry Christmas. I'll see you guys later.